All right. Hey, so we'll see how that goes. So we're just gonna first dive right into positions. We're not gonna go over every free agent sign. There's been a whole bunch there. Just gonna brush over a few, guys that we liked or positions that we felt, were good. Obviously, we'll go over the big one first. Quarterback. Not much movement here. Notably, re-sign, Cam Newton going back to New England, and I guess Ryan Fitzpatrick was, and then obviously Andy Dalton to Chicago. I'm sorry, Ryan Fitzpatrick to the Washington football team. So I guess I'll throw it over to you first, John. Any signings kind of pop out to you, or anyone you like in particular in regards to those quarterbacks? And also, sorry, Tyrod Taylor, Houston as well.
Um, I mean, there's just not been a lot of like big time stuff with the quarterback position so far. I would say the most impactful ones are probably like Fitzpatrick to Washington because that allows them to potentially take a quarterback some point in this draft. He kind of mentors them, but also like can fill that stopgap for, another year of not really knowing who their long term answer is going to be. But my personal favorite one would be Tyrod Taylor, just because I feel like that indicates that Deshaun Watson is probably going to be moved. Because Tyrod tends to be that guy that when teams transition or they have a rookie or whoever, he takes the spot, he starts, and he's been reliable in the times that he's had a chance. Unfortunately, he's had a lot of injuries, so part of me is kind of rooting that Deshaun Watson gets traded. He gets a shot in Houston, 1 year deal, kind of prove it thing. But yeah, I think the quality of a quarterback that he is and can be, I think that probably to me indicates Watson's on the move. Other than that, a lot of these moves aren't that crazy. The Trubisky one I thought was interesting, just because Josh Allen has clearly evolved from needing like a mentor backup to needing an actual backup who, if he goes down, they got to have somebody ready to go. Um, but other than that, I mean, it's a lot of backups, and that's pretty much it. I'm interested to see where Alex Smith's going to end up because I feel like he's, I don't know, not necessarily a top level QB, but sort of the best available still out there. So unless I'm forgetting anybody, but yeah, other than that, I mean, quarterback's sort of an uninteresting position so far.
Yeah. And any others? Anything else you'd like to add to that, Ron? Because I feel like pretty much feel the same
Yeah,
way.
I feel the same way. I think Fitzy going to Washington, it's a good spot for him. I think they were big on Heineke at the end of the year, so I think bringing in Fitzpatrick kind of eases the quarterback room a little bit. Now you got a veteran guy in there who can jump in any game. I mean, he's Fitzy's been used to just having to jump in and bail people out. So if Heineke doesn't work out, Fitz magic happens. So it's a great story there, and I think he'll kind of come in and do a lot of what Alex Smith did. I just think he's a little bit healthier and a little bit further along right now. So I like that move. And yeah, like you said, other than that, it's just kind of playing the waiting game to see what happens with Deshaun. You know, I have no clue where he'll go right now. Like no clue, but I would love to see Bill Belichick pull something off. I mean, that would be
No,
the
please no.
ultimate storyline. If he finishes this thing off by getting him, yeah, I don't even want to begin to think of. I could just see it now. Pats Bucks, Brady versus Belichick. Like I could see it now.
No.
Yeah. Only thing I would say about that is just I feel like because they signed Cam back and it was such, I feel like oh, sorry, there goes my alarm again. Bringing Cam back, I think, kind of solidifies the quarterback position unless something crazy happens in the draft. Like when the top guys fall. But even then, it's like I don't know. I just feel like the offense is built. They're building around kind of like Cam Newton. And we'll get into that in a second. But bring those two tight ends. And this is a Patriot team that lost a lot of close games. So I think I would say Cam would be the most impactful. I'm interested to see what happens in Andy Dalton with the Bears. It makes sense though. Matt Nagy and I forget. I think the GM's Ryan Pace. I may be mixing
Yep.
up GMs and
Ryan
teams.
Pace.
Probably on the hot seat, and I don't think they're going to want to have to draft a new guy and develop him over the year. I think they want to get a guy like Dalton so that maybe they'll be in the playoff picture and save their jobs. Although they got to figure out what's going on with Allen Robinson because they tagged him and he's already not wanting to be
Where
there.
he's just not happy.
Yeah, he don't want to be there. But I'll agree with John. The only other quarterback I'm looking at here that would really maybe want on my team is Alex Smith. I mean, there's still like yeah, there's still Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's done. I don't know why you brought that up. But yeah, quarterback wise, not much there. Running back, kind of the same. I guess you could say issue. I mean, Kenyon Drake signed today to the Las Vegas Raiders. We can dive into that, but really, other than that, I mean, Jamal Williams, Carlos Hyde, not many big names here. Not many big names left in my eyes, except for maybe Philip Lindsay, and that's because he can't just join that pool today because Denver, I believe, they pulled their tender. But I don't know if anyone can go. Anything to say in regards to the running backs or any running back signed or waiting to be signed?
I was going to say that Leonard Fournette technically is not signed
Oh yeah,
yet,
I
although
forgot about
I
Leonard.
imagine he's probably going to return to the Bucks because they won a Super Bowl. Why not run it back with them? Outside of that, I mean, I think my favorite move would just be Marlon Mack staying with the Colts. I think that he's had success there. I like their running back room as a whole, and I think it was a pretty cheap deal, so they don't have to, they don't have to really fully commit to Jonathan Taylor yet while he's still in a second. You still have some stability, but slowly work that over. Other than that, I mean, I think Kenyon Drake's probably my favorite one, just because he provides an interesting dynamic to that backfield that Jacobs himself does not have, which is just a little bit more speed, burst, receiving ability, and so I think that's a good one-two punch. Other than that, it's similar to quarterback, just a lot of backups, really.
Yeah, Ron, I know you're probably close to your good old LSU alum Leonard Fournette. I remember
Oh yeah,
I heard he might be going to Seattle. I heard New England
yeah.
was
I
toying with
I heard
him.
that and I got excited. I thought Seattle would have been a nice place for him. They like those kind of bruising style running backs. So I thought it would have been nice to see him go there. But yeah, kind of like John said, it's pretty quiet in the running. Which I mean, like I've kind of been leaning towards this way. I think this is kind of what it is for running backs. There's so many of them, like that. It's just a position that even with Saquon, it's like I love having Saquon, but it's like how much longer can we really rely on bell cows. Like our bell cows kind of fading away. It seems like teams are going to the more 1 to 2 running back approach, which I think just makes more sense. Marlon Mack's interesting because I believe they still have Naeem Hines too, right?
Hmm.
Yep.
And it's just like Jonathan Taylor just kind of he really got onto the scene. I mean, not only I have him as a keeper in one of my big leagues, so I personally would like to see Marlon Mack move on. But I think he's a good piece that could be trade value at some point. A team looking for a running back, they get an injury or something like that, and you might get a nice little draft pick or something for him to help keep continuing to build what they have over there, which is a strong team. I mean, I think trading him for a receiver, like not like literally, but like getting rid of him and maybe bringing in another wideout, I think might make a little more sense for them just because there's three of them. But like you said, if they decide to keep him, I wouldn't be too opposed to that.
Yeah. And I do the one I really am curious about. I think it's good football wise, not good if you're a fantasy owner, like you both kind of mentioned, especially John. Kenyon Drake to the Raiders, especially because
Yeah,
as a
I'm gonna grab
Josh
my water.
Jacobs, you're fine. As a Josh Jacobs owner, the past 2 years, injuries have just been like he'll have like a great game and then like a great 2 game start and then he'll like have a nagging injury that gets him through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's just like Ro mentioned with those bruising backs. Yeah, they deliver a lot of contact, a lot of punishment, but their bodies take punishment over time. And I think, and honestly, I think Josh Jacobs is solid in the pass game, but I will say he's not as good, obviously, as Kenyon Drake is. And obviously, like you
Yeah,
mentioned, Drake offers that explosiveness. And once again, just another really good back because after that they had, I think, trust me, once again, as a Josh Jacobs owner, it was not fun trying to figure out uh, the
yeah,
running back behind him when he was out.
yeah, and that's the issue. And I remember even talking to Mike as a Raiders fan, like the beginning of the year, I had him in fantasy, but they were
He's
running him
killing.
30 times a game.
Oh yeah, Johnny was
And I'm
running him to
just
the
like, this
ground.
isn't the 90s. You can't do that anymore.
Well,
Like,
and we'll talk
guys
about it
get
later. I
hurt.
mean, that was the strength of their offense, though. They have built in the
Yeah,
offensive line and the running
absolutely.
back, and
But
then
I just
Which
think getting Kenyon Drake to kind of give him a breather is kind of like the Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt thing. They
yeah,
both could probably start somewhere, but when you get to the third and fourth quarter and they're just destroying you, it's like you see why it works.
What are you saying, John?
And I was gonna say, I think that's like the future of the league, though. It's such an oversaturated position that the Browns, like, they capitalized on the fact that they got Kareem Hunt when they did, and we've seen how that's paid off for them. Like, that's their offensive identity now. That is what Stefanski has made sure that this is our strength. We're gonna run it down your throats, and then after that, our passing game's gonna open up, and it keeps guys more fresh. I mean, look at Leonard Fournette in the playoffs. Like, everybody was talking
Yeah,
about, they're not using him all season, and then boom, playoff time comes. He is fresh as can be, and he's a physical guy. So in a regular season, if he was running like that, he wouldn't have the same impact that he did in the playoff run. So, and what Shanahan does with the Niners, there's just so many different examples of teams moving towards that. And
yeah,
I mean, Roan, I know you could probably attest to this. It kind of sucks being a fan of a team who has like a bell cow of a running back who is supposed to take that damage, because I mean, as we saw with the Cowboys this year, Zeke, I mean, his numbers have slowly started dipping down because they run him so much, and that was the focal point of their offense. That his numbers have dipped. The offensive line play is not as strong, and we see the damage on his body.
yeah.
He's struggled with ins and out and injuries this year. So yeah, I think that's the future of the league. Is the running back market sort of like peaked when it came to money, but I think in the next 5 years we're probably going to see it start to go back down,
Yeah.
and teams are going to have multiple running backs to really have success, because the running back is just such a physical position that you can't play like that all year and expect to be the exact same in a deep playoff run.
And I think even a piggy on that, it kind of like it's carrying over with the O line. I think the way you guys ran Zeke, it when you're running that kind of a style, it's pounding and pounding on the lineman. Whereas you bring in a change of pace back, and you're sweeping more than you used to. The linemen are moving more. It's not just straight ground and pound at the trenches. So I think you're seeing, even with the linemen, you're seeing more rotational linemen, just because it's just such a wear and tear on the body, and it's just the NFL is getting too strong and too fast.
Yeah. And so, all right. So that goes on running backs, and so we'll get on to the more star-studded position, wide receiver. Although contracts haven't really been showing that way. A lot of wide receivers have been signed. I mean, mainly I guess the few big ones: Corey Davis of the Jets. Curtis Samuel, who I think we were talking before the cameras. Very versatile wide receiver. But then Patriots also go and grab Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne. I'm just gonna say I think that those two are two very good signings for the Patriots. Especially I think two guys that can also take sweeps, handoffs, but can also go downfield. They can both play the slot or play outside. It's very New Englandy, especially with we mentioned their other moves. Just versatile guys that and they're only signed to 2-3 years. Bourne's has a 1 year potential out, so if it doesn't work out, they can cut him loose. We'll talk about the Patriots later, but or I'll go into that later. But a few other ones, AJ Green, I think that was yesterday to the Cardinals. Just a few other moves. But Ron, you already mentioned John Ross to your New York Giants, and then this one made me sad. Will Fuller to the Miami, very good low buy for Miami. But I'll throw it to you first, Ron. Any wide receivers, any signings besides your John Ross signing? You already got your moment to shine, unless you want to take that time. Any wide receiver signings?
He's had enough. He's had enough.
Any of those jump out to you?
Yeah, I thought Will Fuller was on a straight line to Green Bay. Like, I thought that was a match that I thought they were going to trade for him. That was all the talk is Will Fuller to Green Bay. So I thought, now that you guys were just kind of waiting and get him for free, I thought for sure he was going to go there. Miami is the last place I thought he'd go. But, then again, who knows the kind of conversations they could have had. This could help us get Deshaun. Like, maybe that's more appealing. Maybe, it gives them a little bit more to play with as far as trying to trade for Deshaun. But I think we're going to see some more movement out of Miami. I mean, I just don't see them going to sign another home run threat without a guy who can get a ball to him. So, maybe we got something in the works for them. But Curtis Samuel, I thought, was the biggest prize. I wanted him over Kenny Galladay. So, I think him going to Washington, Washington looks good.
Yeah, Washington's got a good team.
Washington, like him and Terry McLaurin, combined with McKissick and Gibson. McKissick comes out the backfield, and Logan has shown that he's going to be around for a bit.
And we know the defense is good.
They worry me. Curtis Samuel he's a home run hitter, just like Terry. So I think they got a good buy there.
Yeah. John, any others? Corey Davis or any other of these signings really speak out to you, or you liked, or maybe any of these that you kind of shook your head at?
I liked Corey Davis. I think there's more work there for the Jets. I feel like he's a really good number two.
Mhm.
There's been talks with them getting potentially Juju Smith-Schuster. I think they should do it. Obviously, I mean, you're committing a lot of money to wide receivers, but I think when you have all that cap space, you got a new head coach. If you do believe in Sam Darnold, or you do take a Zach Wilson, having Juju and Corey Davis and Denzel Mims all together really for one, they're basically their first year on the Jets because Mims didn't get to play a whole lot last year. That's a really big improvement from the wide receiver room they had the season before. And I think they still have Jameson Crowder. I might be wrong on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm really annoyed that Washington got Curtis Samuel because he's a very dynamic weapon, and the statement of Washington is a QB away from being a real big time playoff team is even more true now, especially after William Jackson on the defensive end as well to even further make that defense even better. But to me, I love the Will Fuller move so much for Miami. Kind of like Roan alluded to, this could mean a potential Watson trade. But the reason I think that's a possibility is getting Will Fuller frees them up to use that number 3 pick however they want. A lot of people were saying Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, one of those guys as the 3rd pick. Now they don't have to put it there. They still can because, imagine Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, and one of those 3 guys. That's a loaded receiver room. And you have a receiver now who, if, Parker or Fuller, when they get to the end of their deals, you got a rookie guy who can now re-sign. But they don't have to do that. They can trade it. They can use it on offensive line. They can use it on defense. They can use it on whatever they want now because the one glaring hole they had has been filled. So, I think that's just, to me, that's the best signing right there because of what it enables them to do. That's another thing that I think with Kenny Galladay for the Giants, if they can sign him, it enables a similar route to where they don't have to spend their pick on a receiver. They can use it on O-line or whatever else they want to do. I know the Bengals, they're another team that is looking at Kenny Galladay. Similar situation. They can use their pick more so for an offensive line, which everyone agrees they're probably going to do, but it fills, another hole. So, yeah, there's a few teams like that they need a wide receiver, whether it's through the draft or in free agency. And so the fact that the Dolphins went out and just addressed it now so they can be more flexible, I like that a lot on their end.
Man, so y'all both took my main
It
ones.
scares me though. That I gotta say that kind of worries me because then you get those big 3 that slide further and further down, and then it makes you wonder, like, if you're the Giants, does that signing prevent them from taking one of those 3? So does that mean they move a slot down, and can you get one of those guys? So I think, like you said, the more these teams go get the solidified guy, it makes me wonder if we should hold out, and maybe you get your pick of the litter.
Just being a Cowboys fan, I don't think it necessarily does because if they're that high on a guy like the Cowboys were with CeeDee Lamb, then I think you take the best available because, as we're probably going to see with this next year, Michael Gallup's probably done within, I hope they trade him instead of letting him walk because then we at least get something.
But he's going to get paid.
Yeah, he's going to get paid. So, either you trade him or he's going to leave and get his money. So, I think that if they're that high on a receiver, all it does is make your receiver room even more loaded to help your quarterback. So, like I said, it just provides flexibility. You don't have to take one. Mm-hmm. So if a top offensive tackle, like say a crazy scenario, Penei Sewell falls to that spot, you can feel even more confident taking him because you've already handled a wide receiver spot or something along those lines.
Yeah. So the only thing I want to add on Will Fuller. With maybe teams, especially my Packers, who don't like to dabble in free agency. He's had those hamstring issues, which I just think that's more of on the medical team. The hamstring probably isn't the issue if it's been the issue for 7 straight times. But obviously, he had injuries keep him out, and then obviously the PED thing. We've seen guys, especially in recent years, Julian Edelman, he hasn't been the same since he got busted for PEDs. All of a sudden, he's got all these injuries. Pat Pete hasn't been the same since he got busted for PEDs. Same thing with Trent Murphy. The Bills signed. He had, I think, a great season. I'm not sure if he was with Buffalo when regardless, I remember he got caught for PDs right after he signed a 4-year contract. Wasn't that big, but still, for a no-name kind of guy. Then he kind of disappeared back off. So interested to see. I still think Will Fuller is a great player, but I mean, who knows how long how long he's been influenced by that, and how he'll play. Um, but in regards to receivers, I want to mention low key for the Jets too. Keelan Cole, he's always been a very solid. He had his moments in Jacksonville. We know Jacksonville's had quarterback issues, and I'm not saying the Jets are much better, but especially they do get a Zach Wilson. Now they have a Corey Davis, a Keelan Cole, Mike LaFleur, brother of Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. He's probably running the similar offense. So yeah, I'm interested to see. I think he might be a good low key player, but I will agree with y'all. Curtis Samuel, most intriguing one out of all of them, and then Will Fuller will probably be second. And then only other one maybe is AJ Green, to the Cardinals. But
I'm so shocked by that move.
and if
It's
it
just
works,
Cliff, man. It's just Cliff. He's gonna hold him back just like he does AJ or DeAndre Hopkins.
yeah, I feel like
I don't get it. I just
I mean I think it helps
I don't
with
know.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see if Cliff
What
can
is he
evolve his
gonna do that
offense.
Larry wasn't already doing? You know?
I don't know. Like I said, we'll
Like,
see with Cliff. I mean, they made some smart moves. We'll talk about that later. But we'll move on to tight end here, which is surprisingly a lot. I guess a lot more buzz around the tight end market, mainly because of what New England did. Obviously, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. As a Packer fan, I want to win those two guys. And then for the most part, like we mentioned, Kyle Rudolph to Rome's Giants. Only other one, I saw today, Jared Cook to the Chargers. For in regards to notable names, but I feel like he's always on 1 year contracts. So I'll throw it to you, John. First, any tight ends speak out to you?
I mean the two obvious ones, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. It just shows that New England, number one, is committed to building around Cam and actually getting him weapons finally. But the big shock to me was Jonnu Smith. I think was like the first big free agent signing that came off like whenever things started opening up, and it to me it was a little shocking because I was like, New England typically doesn't ever do this. And some people want to spin that as like, oh, Brady won a championship, and so Bill's freaking out now. But I think it's because the Patriots, they went 7-9 last year, and that's just not acceptable to Bill Belichick. And he understands we can do some super slow rebuild and try to build the way that we always did. But he understands that in the situation that they're in, they are not as good as they've ever, as they previously were. And so they need to make some big changes. And that shows like they've spent tons of money this free agency. The two receivers you mentioned, now these two tight ends. I mean, they knew the narrative. They heard all the noise. They knew that they had no weapons for Cam, and so they went out and they got him a lot of weapons. But the most notable thing is the two tight end scheme back in New England. I mean, think to Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for Cam because I've always liked him. I've always rooted for him, and I'm glad that Bill Belichick is willing to go out there and make sure that Cam has some weapons to actually throw to. And yeah, I mean, those two tight ends, those are the two big fish. Outside of that, I mean, there's Gronk, but everyone knew he was going to stick with Tom Brady. So those two guys, it's going to be interesting to see how different the New England offense is this season compared to last. Now that Cam has those weapons and has targets he can throw to that are going to make plays.
Rome, any other tight ends, or there's just
yeah,
those two?
yeah. I mean, I think like a lot of what John said. I feel like Belichick kind of knew this was his plan. I think he knew last year was kind of playing with house money, and I think the fact I look at it the opposite, because I've been big on the page. Before free agency started, I just felt like this was this type of situation. Salary cap gets cut, everyone's freaking out, and Bill Belichick's like, "Yep, I got money, and I know exactly what I'm doing with it." I feel like last year Cam was what he wanted from him was to see that you can take some hits. Let's see you get through a season, where you're getting hit a little bit, and let's see if you can, play through it. And I think once he did that, he rewarded them with the contract. I'm not convinced he's going to be the starter if they can't make a move to get Deshaun. I think that's going to be an opportunity for them. And I think these two tight ends, yeah, like you said, Cam was an MVP. So, to giving it a former MVP some weapons and you run that read option offense, with these double tight ends and a couple receivers who can break one free. And it could get real ugly in New England. So I'm all for what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this kind of accentuates what the NFL is going back to. Tight ends are being asked a lot to do more, and then New England obviously double dipping tight ends. I mean, they drafted two last year, but I think kind of what you both alluded to. I think it was just Bill just felt like they were far away, and I think big thing is what Ron said. Down year in the cap, also, which also means not just teams have less money to spend, but I think contracts. I think they know that the contracts are going to be cheaper. So hey, let's go get these guys. And one thing I love about New England is typically, except for really these two guys, well, I mean even the wide receiver contracts and some of the other defensive players they signed, a lot of low guaranteed money. A lot of, I mean, I already see it right now. Hunter Henry they have a 2 year out with him, so if it doesn't work, in 2 years they can just cut him. Same thing with Kendrick Bourne, if it's a 1 year out, so they can just cut him after a year and not have to lose much. So I love what New England did. But in regards to other tight ends, not much news there. I mean, obviously, as a Packer fan, I wanted either one of these tight ends, so it upset me when New England really got both of them because, once again, perfect spot for those two guys. And like y'all mentioned, I think I feel like Cam has probably the best supporting cast he's had probably in all of his career, even in Carolina. Because remember, Carolina all he really had, he had Steve Smith Sr. at the beginning, but it was an old Steve Smith. And then Kelvin Benjamin, we all saw what happened to him. He had a good rookie season, and then after that fell off. It was really just, and even the MVP year, it was really just what Greg Olson. And I remember I think I still had Ted Ginn out there, and we all know Ted Ginn. He's great, but he has stone hands, man. He'll get open. He's like a Valdez Scantling, the original. Just so.
The original.
So I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see if they do anything at running back. I'm interested to see I feel like we'll talk more about their moves, but draft wise, I feel like the only thing they really need is running back, and they're sitting there in the middle. Maybe they get one that the Alabama kid.
Who do they have now? What's his name? I forget his name.
Damian Harris and Sony Michel, but Michel's been injured.
I like Damian Harris,
but Damian Harris is like your old school, like 4 yards at a time. He's never gonna bust a big one. And I think they just need a game breaker.
They need a home run hitter.
Especially if they're losing James White. James White they still need that scat back. I mean, knowing Bill, he's gonna find some dude in the 7th round that's gonna be a scat back. So he'll be fine there. But
and I think the key to all these signings is mini camp, is OTAs and training camp. That's where Bill's season. That's where he wins his season.
Oh yeah, and that's where last year he's like we mentioned on the pod.
That's where he didn't have so.
Well, they also had COVID.
I think you're going to see a lot out of New England this year.
Yeah. So, all right, move on to offensive line. We just agree with them all as a whole. Obviously, the biggest one, Trent Williams, staying in San Francisco. Also, a few other big splashes. Joe Thuney, guard to Kansas City. Kansas City managed to free up cap and get some help there. Corey Linsley leaving my Packers to the LA Chargers for Justin Herbert. And then last one I'll mention is a bit of a surprise. I don't know if you want to get your thoughts on it. Kevin Zeitler, guard from the Giants, let go and signed to Baltimore. Tyrone, especially Giant team that's been renowned for offensive line issues. Your thoughts, reactions on when he was released, and obviously your thoughts now.
Well, John knows this has been a topic on my mind since free agency started, and I'm like, we can't get rid of him. Like, he's our best lineman. Like, how are you going to do that? And I'll say this. We drafted some really good rookies that I think played more than I thought they would, like Matt Pert and Shane Lemieux, a guard and a tackle who kind of like, they really showed up in camp and they really believe in these guys. So it's evident, by the fact that they haven't made another move, that we're going to go young with the O-line, which scares the hell out of me, because you're talking Will Hernandez, Andrew Thomas, Shane Lemieux, Nick Gates, and I don't know who's going to play, and Solder or Matt Pert at right tackle. And listen, if it works out, we have a line for years to come. But if it doesn't, Danny's gone, Gettleman's gone, and half the O-line's gone. So it's going to be it's a weird situation. But I know Lamar's happy.
Yeah, because losing lost one pro guard and Yonda, now he gets a pretty solid one to replace him. So yeah, and with over to you, John. I did see your Dallas Cowboys got Ty Nsekhe. I don't know if he excites you, or does any other these linemen signed really excite you?
I mean, I like getting him because he's a veteran. So we saw the state of our backups last year. Uh, y'all know how I feel about Terrence Steele. So getting a tackle that can provide some depth, I'm just glad they know they need to address that. I hope they continue to though through the draft because Naseki he's like 36. The biggest signing that I like a lot is 49ers actually just got Alex
I
Mack,
forgot to mention that too.
Yeah.
and he's older. He's looking to compete, but we know how deadly the Niners can be when healthy, and I think just solidifying that line that they have. I'm worried about a healthy Niners next year, especially with, the running game and all the things that they can do because we've seen that Shanahan can pull any guy off the streets and potentially get them a monster 200-yard game at any point in the season. So I think Alex Mack, that's a good signing. One of those like more underrated ones, just because the Niners are not necessarily in a position like Baltimore or Kansas City. But yeah, I think San Francisco, they're investing in the trenches. I mean, we saw Trent Williams. I think he got the highest paid uh, offensive lineman deal ever.
Hmm.
I might be wrong on that. Maybe it's like the most guaranteed, something like that. There was some sort of record-setting deal, and apparently there was like heavy competition with Chicago for him. And then obviously now they have Alex Mack. So
Isn't he 37 years old?
Mac,
who?
it's showing here on Spot Track.
No,
He's
Trent
30.
Trent Williams.
Trent
No,
is
he's
33.
33.
Okay, because I heard he got a 6-year deal, and that scared me because I thought he was like 37, 38, and I'm
And
like, no
and
way.
and there's a potential out
Okay.
after 3 years for San Francisco. So if it shows
Yeah.
That
his
makes
age is
sense.
showing,
Then.
then
That's a
um,
good deal for him then.
yeah, so great deal for
Anyway,
him. But go ahead.
outside of that, I was just gonna say I'm still really interested to see where Eric Fisher goes, the Chiefs tackle. I mean, he's a two-time Pro Bowler. Obviously, had some injuries last year. I was still shocked the Chiefs cut him. Obviously, we've seen that they've invested in the line since. They also got Kyle Long, who came out of
Yeah, I
retirement.
was going to mention him.
So that'll be interesting to see if he still got it because when he did play, he was a Pro Bowler. At points in his career. So anyway, yeah, interested to see where Eric Fisher goes, what the market's going to be like for him because these offensive linemen, out of every position group, these offensive linemen have been banking on some of the deals they're getting. I mean, Tony got $80 million, like we just said, with Trent Williams, he got a ton. I'm pretty sure Corey Linsley got a bunch from the Chargers. So yeah, interested to see what the market's going to be like for Eric Fisher.
My only thing with Eric Fisher, especially talking with my stepdad, big Chief fan, shout out Matthew. I think he suffered an Achilles tear, and especially at the left tackle position,
Yeah,
being 30 years
that's
old.
tough.
And and not that Eric Fisher was the greatest left tackle, but he was still a solid left tackle. So you got to worry, does he even come? And he's probably gonna be out most of the year too. So
Yep.
you're not sure what you're gonna get. And I think they also the right tackle they let go of
Mitchell Schwartz.
Schwartz. He's always been solid, but
That's the one.
I think
Yeah.
he mentioned two back issues have been a real, and especially for an offensive lineman, back once the back starts going, it's not a good sign. But yeah, I'll head on in regards to the one I'd liked, which was the one I was most saddened by, Corey Linsley. I mean, probably one of the better guards or better setters in the NFL. And it's just a great signing by the Chargers. Their biggest, weakest point, and they get not only a very good center, but a veteran center. He's worked with Aaron Rodgers. Now you give Justin Herbert that same guy. The blog is solid at right tackle, and then we're all assuming they're all like the Bengals. They're going offensive line first round. So just getting more pieces to protect Justin Herbert, is great for them. And then like Jerome mentioned, Kevin Zeitler to that Baltimore team. We like to run the ball, and they love their big boys up there. So and last one, low key, New England bringing back Ted Karras. Not the sexiest name, not the greatest center/guard, but he can play both center and guard. I think he can play tackle. He did play him at tackle a few times too, a couple of years ago. But also, from Miami, Brian Flores from New England, similar system. So there's not going to be much, translation over there. And same with Alex Mack, formerly with Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta. He's going to know the system. There's not going to be many issues for them there, even if they're slowed down by COVID.